Happy Saturday, and welcome to the Ramashram Satsang Weekend Workshop, where you'll learn a modern Satsang method for obtaining peace, light, and love in your life. My name is Eddie, and I'll be introducing the facilitator for today's event. But first, I'd like to give you a brief overview of this Satsang session. If you direct your attention towards your screen, you'll see the first element is Satsang. Satsang is a scientific method whereby we may obtain peace, light, and love in our life. It requires no physical skill, spiritual accomplishment, or meditation experience to begin this practice. Satsang consists The next element is meditation. Meditation is an important part of Satsang. When we meditate, we will draw consciousness from worldly objects and direct it inwards to focus on a single thought. In doing so, our minds become calm and our thoughts become pure, thereby allowing us to obtain higher states of consciousness, such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. Inner orientation. There are two types of Satsang, inner Satsang and outer Satsang. An example of outer Satsang would be chanting or attending pilgrimages. When we practice outer Satsang, we have the potential to change our behavior, but only through the practice of inner Satsang can we obtain higher states of consciousness, such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. The Satsang that you will learn today is an inner Satsang where we meditate in silence. Group session. These weekend workshops are structured for group participation. When we meditate as a group, our focus is improved and our personal progress along our spiritual path is expedited. By regularly attending these weekend workshops, the benefits of group participation are amplified. Joy and inner happiness. All beings wish to experience joy. Joy is the eternal longing of the soul, but only through the practice of inner Satsang can we obtain a joyous state. Each time we practice Satsang, our inner happiness gradually increases, ultimately culminating in a state of joy which we experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The agenda for today consists of 3 sessions: the informative session, the practice session, and the interactive session. During the informative session, a lecture will be given about a Satsang topic, the founder, or some relevant spiritual topic. During the practice session, you'll receive instructions on how to meditate, followed by a period of practice. During the interactive session, you have the opportunity to ask questions, or there'll be a panel discussion. And now, I'd like to introduce the facilitator for today's event. He has over 40 years of Satsang experience. He's the grandson of Guru Maharaj, the founder of Ramashram Satsang. He was born into a Satsang family where he experienced his family members obtain states of enlightenment and lead lives of peace, light, and love. At an early age, he began traveling with the mission throughout India, facilitating satsangs. And during that time, he witnessed the positive effects that satsang could have on mankind. And upon arriving to the United States, both he and his wife continued to facilitate satsangs for local satsangis. He has led teams of satsang members in translating important satsang literature into English and has worked tirelessly to make satsang more accessible to Western and English-speaking audiences. He currently travels throughout the United States, India, and England, facilitating satsangs while maintaining his duties as a husband, a father, and an IT executive. Today, he will teach us a rare and ancient form of satsang as taught by Guru Maharaj. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sanjeev Kumarji.
Happy Saturday, everyone, and glad that we are here in satsang. And thank you, Eddie, for the satsang overview. And last Tuesday we revisited significance of silence, and to pursue this practice, I think that's one definite concept that we need to inculcate. But we have been over the years, we have been talking about this various levels, the 5 steps. So I think for last several weeks, I think we haven't gone there. So let's take a deep dive on the pyramid or the 5 steps to inner peace again, and then we'll practice how do we ascend through the pyramid there towards ocean of peace. So Yuan, if you could bring that video.
People do ask me that when there are such toxic people and deeply disturbing situations, how can you be at peace? And I think that is an important thing to understand. Like, is there a way in which we can be with toxic people, or even like ordinary people sometimes do some things which shatters our inner peace? So how do we tackle that? So I personally feel that to tackle that and to understand that, we need to redefine personal progress. Our progress should not be measured in how much we have or who we are or what we have achieved in life. It should be how we react to these situations. Am I able to tackle tough people, tough situations, and still handle your inner peace, your inner poise, your inner strength, your inner happiness is not affected by day-to-day ups and downs that we encounter? Let's try to break this down. So first thing is, I would like to take a model that was described probably thousands of years ago in the Upanishads. It's a 5-step process to lasting, and it's like if we have to achieve the ocean of peace, where we are at peace, everybody around us gets affected by it, and they achieve peace as well. How do we achieve that state? So let's take it's like 5 steps or 5 realms, and at the top of the 5 realms is that destination where you have almost unchanging, everlasting, deep sense of inner peace. So let's take an example of how we all perceive and react to various situations in life. So my father used to take an example where somebody found a person lying on the ground. So basically, the person got hit by a rock and fell flat and was unconscious. So one person who was himself drunk, he looked at the person and said, must have, had too much to drink. Then another person walks by who stole something and was running, and he looked at this person and was like, this person must have stolen something and was trying to run away and, fell down. And then the third person, who was a sage, looked at this person, and compassion and care and all that kicked in and came over to help this person. So, three people, same situation, reaction is totally different. Why? So, there is outer world has events, and inner world has inner states. So every person reacts to the outer event through their inner states, and these inner states could be in one of the 5 levels. So at the lower level, like the realm of the world, where basically the focus is on me, me, me. Eat, drink, and be merry. This is purely materialistic lifestyle where you don't have time for others. So if at the lower level, person looks at a person who needs help, would say, well, somebody got in trouble, they're responsible for it, and I got to do my duty or my important meeting or other things, and I need to focus on myself, and would not really care. On the second realm, the reaction would change a little, and the reaction might be, oh, I would like to help if I didn't have this other important thing to do. And there is a little more empathy and compassion, but the end result is not much different. So that's the realm of life where you have probably changed your direction to look towards peace, light, and love, but it's just a step in that direction. You haven't really achieved any real sense of change yet. And then in the realm of mind, where mind control, meditation, looking inwards becomes a little deeper, here the person would have empathy and care in a genuine way, but it's still not unconditional. It's still not developed to a point where giving becomes a real nature. Here, it's almost like 50-50, where you see a situation, you see a person who needs help. Mentally, you would be in a place to help. But again, your logic and your thought processes will also tell you why you can only do that much, because there are things that you need to take care of, etc. So empathy, care is evolving, and you have gotten to the next stage. Fourth realm and fifth realm, which I call the realm of knowledge or realm of light, where somebody has suddenly realized that they now understand how everybody else's health, happiness affects theirs. The environment, the nature, has a very integral impact on us. So understanding that in the realm of knowledge, your reaction to things would be that you have to take care of those things first, of people around you. So you now are moving towards giving more than taking. You are stepping towards unconditional love, care, and empathy that you never had before. In the realm of love, it multiplies, it's infectious. It is where if some person is in trouble, you would forget about what is important to you. You would focus on helping that person. And I saw in Satsang, the leaders, the mentors, the people who have really taken Satsang to be integral part of their life, and they achieved that lasting inner peace and light and love, were able to help thousands and thousands and thousands of people, in most cases without really affecting their livelihood or their approach to life. So when you start giving more, it actually enriches your world in many, many, many ways. So just realizing that is realm of knowledge, implementing that is realm of love. So in these 5 steps, basically, you not only progress yourself through these stages, through satsang, to the ocean of peace, but you achieve this light and love in the process that really enriches your life, your environment, and your community. And giving and unconditional love becomes an integral part of your personality. That I would call personal progress. So achieving inner peace is stepping through a process through which you become a more mature, a more giving, basically a person who has an abundance of light, which is knowledge, love, which is care and compassion, and peace, which is something that first you achieve and then you share with others.
Wow. So, concept is one thing, but implementing is what actually makes the transformation happen. But the reason I talk about this is like one vertical ascent, which is moving yourself to higher ground. That should be understood and should be pursued. And by just very nature, moving upwards takes more effort. And that is why it's not quote unquote as common as it ought to be, because it takes effort. And the second thing is, it kind of not only provides a model, but it also says that wherever we are, we may be at a higher ground, there is still probably more to go. Or we may be at a lower ground, we have to think about actually progressing. Recently, I think somewhere I was talking about this the story that Swami Vivekananda used to talk about, go further, keep, somebody met a sage and all he said was like, just move forward, go further. And when that person implemented it, the story goes on how every time he moved further, there were additional things that, in that story brought like more material wealth. But basically, both Swami Vivekananda and my father talking about it, it's just the same principle applies in spiritual progress. Incidentally, Swami Vivekananda came to US, a while ago, I think in the 1890s. He passed away in 1902, so somebody forwarded me his speech that he gave in Chicago. And where he starts is almost startling to me. Sectarianism, bigotry, and its horrible descendant, fanaticism, have long possessed this beautiful earth. They have filled the earth with violence, drenched it often with human blood, destroyed civilizations, and sent whole nations to despair. I fervently hope that the bell that tolled this morning in honor of this convention, and he's talking about this World of Religion convention or something. Uh, so he says that I hope that maybe this bell is the death knell of all fanaticism, of all persecutions with the sword or the pen, of all uncharitable feelings between persons. Um, you know, profound words. Uh, the thing is that we all can not only so after a century, we only find ourselves deeper into the abyss worldwide because our mind just doesn't let us move upwards. We talk about it eloquently and very in a very polished way, but the actions are staying on the lower ground. So I think the pursuit here in satsang is that we continue to individually first, and then collectively continue to pursue the upward ascent. And let's practice that. It's all about that practice, which another thing that I have been thinking about is that if we forget about the cultural and religious aspects, it is about mental resilience. And I think what we need to pursue is, without mental resilience, progress cannot happen. And that is where meditation ought to be an integral part of that. So somewhere in the traditional satsang, I heard actually several times, is that when you meditate, it almost like you see a mirror where you find what things you need to fix. And it also at the same time gives the strength to work towards that. So anyway, so peace is inside, so inward orientation, and to focus and concentrate on achieving this higher consciousness through meditation. So that's what I call inner yoga. So eyes lightly closed, and sit in a relaxed and still posture, and then feel the presence of this transcendental energy in form of light that's right here, right now, in front of you, and that light is entering in your heart, distributing throughout your body, and you are becoming one with this light. You are becoming the light. So mind wanders away, which it will. When you find that mind has, gone away somewhere else, just bring it back to feel this transcendental energy in form of light that's entering your heart, enlightening your heart, and then distributing throughout your body. And you're getting completely and totally immersed in this light. We'll start with music that helps concentration, and then music fades away, and we'll transition out with so we'll go in deep silent meditation, and then we'll transition out music again. Let's start now. Happy Saturday, everyone. Glad that we are here in Satsang. So, yeah, this is your time. Comments, thoughts, questions. Use the chat or unmute yourself. Camilla, nice to see you again. How are you?
Thank you. Fine, thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
So Liz, how are you?
Hey, happy Saturday, everyone. I'm doing well. As usual, I had a wonderful meditation. Today it was particularly deep, but it's probably the energy and also that I got a lot of sleep and that I'm very relaxed and it's beautiful outside and I'm sitting by my window and I can see the trees so that I feed off of their energy. So it was a wonderful meditation. I really liked what you said too. I liked your opening discussion, and it made me think. I can't remember whether you said, so you had a kind of like a story of someone lying on the ground and several people walking past that person and kind of ignoring them. I can't remember if you said why that person was actually, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what I'm saying is like what as people, situation that we react to,
Yes.
different people react differently.
Right. But I wanted to seize upon that a little bit. And so I can't, like I was saying, I can't remember why the person was actually on the ground, but what struck me was all of the people's assumptions of why the person was on the ground, which affects how they reacted. Except, of course, the sage, he did not make assumptions, I don't think. And so that I found particularly resonant. Like I resonated with that because I think oftentimes, when we are our best selves, we don't allow assumptions to cloud our judgment. And, we don't allow that to happen. It's when we make those assumptions which trigger whatever it is, whatever response, right? Like usually a fear response or an anxiety. Oh, I can't talk to that person because that person is not a good, like not respected in society. So I'm not even going to associate. Or, oh, maybe that person is sick and has some kind of communicable disease. So I don't want to touch that person or get, all of those things are fear responses, which make us react in a certain way. And so if we could just tame our assumptions, because assumptions are really just illusions in the mind, we could train ourselves to react better. Is what I was thinking.
Yeah, somebody was telling me that, mind is such a beautiful capability we got. And sometimes we identify more with our mind than it is our mind. It's our, capability to leverage. But what they were talking about is like how we have, through the mind, we have this capability to rationalize. And rationalize has a little bit of a negative connotation, but just the ability to rationalize sometimes is a lifesaver. It's like uh, sometimes we can rationalize that, hey, this was not worth pursuing, or we can rationalize that this is, but it has negative connotation because sometimes we, rather than, as you're saying, like looking at it neutrally without judgment, we take a different route. And at the end of the day, I think the question is how we react to situations and people depends on where we are, right? Fear, and it's sometimes people say, oh, we have to be we have to use our judgment in the sense that if there is danger and if there are other situations, we should be careful, and that is so true. But then, we ought to utilize our ability to sense, situations where we should, things that we should avoid. But most of the time, it is the fear response rather than the actual assessment of the situation, right?
Agreed. Yeah, that's right.
And then more than that, I think it is, what is important to us. So, I mean, like when you look at some of these, people who have made their purpose of life to help others, they're still living. They still have most of those people are not actually in, see, like the rationalization people do is like, hey, if I do this, this will go wrong, and if I focus on this, then that will go wrong, and so on, so on, so on. While people who are, and actually that way, our country, the amount of people go to various missions and service missions throughout the world from US is just phenomenal. Just that, it's a state of mind where serving others becomes important. They even go through, various situations which are not so good to just be able to serve others. But that's, I think it's more of a where they're coming from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of connect that to neuroplasticity. So once through meditation and other means, when you have more mental resilience, you have more ability to see clearly your purpose and so on and so forth. There is this, change that happens in like it's hardwired change in your brain, which makes you more, less focused on self and more focused on what I can do and should do and what's my purpose.
That's true. I mean, I will just add one more thing and then I'll let other people speak because I think someone's raising their hand. But, I do want to acknowledge that there is a way to overcome and hardwire your brain differently. But I want to acknowledge that it's not everyone starts at the same starting place on the race line for that. Right? Like some people, I've been reading articles recently about how, if someone comes from a difficult background, whether it be a background of abuse or poverty, that contributes to the way your brain becomes wired, because you then, are susceptible to fear responses because of the way you were raised or your beginnings. And so for those people in particular, it is challenging for them to do it more so than someone who came from a kind of like a better background or healthier with healthy parents and a healthy like family. I mean, to relatively speaking, right? But it's not impossible, certainly not. And it's certainly doable. But I wanted to acknowledge that it's harder for some people, and it's not easy.
No, so that is why I think in a lot of the literature that Guru Maharaj and people in Satsang have written is like mostly about they describe this as a journey, right? You start somewhere, and it could be as you're saying, it could start in a very even in a very dark place, right? But coming from the darkness to light is what this journey is about. See, it's like even for people who don't have a very difficult past, but they're, most of us are still like, quote unquote, like living in an unawakened state. So think of it as I'm in a room where there is no light, and I am struggling to figure out what is, and hard. It's hard to figure out where to be, where things are, etc. That is like life without purpose. But then all that happens is like somebody or you yourself switch on the light in the room, and everything changes. On that note, so AC, I think you raised the hand. Somebody did, was it by mistake or there was a question? Good, unmute yourself. So Arvindji, how are you?
चरणों में प्रणाम भैया, सबको प्रणाम. I'm well, thank you. Light, love, and peace to everybody, and a happy Saturday to everybody. I was, yeah, go ahead.
I thought you wanted to talk something about this mental resilience, no?
It comes from you. That's the bottom line. In my case, it comes from you. But yeah, I mean, talking about mental resilience, as you were just saying, by Guru Maharaj's grace, and in Sadhana Ke Anubhav, Guru Maharaj mentions Ida, Pingala, and Shushunama Nari, which is actually a sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system and the spinal cord itself. The flow of energy, as Guru Maharaj says, which is partial of this satsang, where we meditate to the light and the energy, and that energy flow perhaps helps the brain, in ways that resets parts of the neurochemical transmission of the brain, as you said, hardwired. But before hardwiring, the first stages are to do with neurotransmission to parts of the brain that balance the judgment, that allow a person to see, if you will, right from wrong, and also to make decisions, appropriate decisions. And that's the prefrontal cortex of the brain, and those parts of the brain become stronger. And there are plenty of research suggesting that transcendental meditation actually, increases the volume, the volume of those parts of the brain that are to do with enhanced decision making and judgment. And when that happens, then the person is able to see the appropriate path. And as you said, light. The word light is really, and it came to me when you mentioned the first part of, of this today, that light is knowledge. What is knowledge? Knowledge is decision making and judgment process, and that's where resilience comes from. So resilience is the ability to tolerate, if you will, adverse circumstances. It's the ability to, face headwinds and yet keep standing. And I think that comes from Guru Maharaj's grace. And that's all I can say. All the science settles down, but the science is also in Guru Maharaj's books from 1930s. It's very much there, if you know. So I'm just grateful to be here, and thank you so much. Charanam mein pranam bhaiya.
Any other thoughts, questions, comments before we wrap up? All right, Eddie.
Yes, Sanjeev. I think I'll wrap up in saying that in educating people on how we should live our lives and the things that we should strive for so that we improve ourselves spiritually is a lesson that you gave today on how we should behave. This is the same story that was told about the Good Samaritan. But you obviously go into more depth and relate that to our levels of consciousness. And that we must achieve a certain state of consciousness in order to be able to exhibit that type of behavior. Now, the simple story is that when you see someone who is in need, that you offer service, and that's the simple version. And then what you've added to that is a more in-depth knowledge of this sense that we have to achieve higher levels of consciousness. We have to raise ourselves from the selfish, the I part of our consciousness, which is the realm of the world, and raise it to the realm of knowledge, or at least the realm of mind, and then ultimately to the realm of love, so that we can live in this world and exhibit the behaviors that we identify with the Good Samaritan or the saint. And so that's what I leave with today with the story that you told, is that this is instructive for how we should behave in this world, and instructive in teaching us that the level that we have to attain in our spiritual journey.
Thanks, Eddie. So on that note, love, light, and peace be with you. Have a great week ahead. Let's be in satsang soon. Actually, as Luz said, the collective energy today was really great. And let's, stay in the process of ascending upwards and vertically climbing. However difficult that is, it's worth it. So love, light, and peace be with you. Take care. See you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
GG. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye everyone.
Sadat Pranam Bhaiya ji.
Thank you.
Bye everyone.
Thank you. Bye now.
Pranam Bhaiya ji. Happy Saturday to all.
Namaskar, KP Singh ji.
Namaste.
Ani- Barbara, thank you. Mahima ji, Anu, Shivangi, Mini, Sangeeta ji.